All right. Okay. Last one. Last one. It's the last episode. Uh, Once you watch this commentary, you got to email VRV. Oh, it's Verve. It's pronounced Verve. Did you know that? It's spelled VRV though. You got to let them know to make more Harmonquest. Otherwise, that's it. That's it. We're done here. You can just turn this video off now if you don't want to do that, because you obviously don't care. I don't know. Whatever. Okay. So this episode was Tom Kenny. It was hard to get Tom Kenny. It wasn't hard, but I don't think he was super confident in the doing it. I think he, was kind of. It's not what he normally does. It's not like a typical voice acting gig. But one of our production guys is like friends with him and was like, "Ah, no, you'll be great. It'll be great." And that was Eric Ladd, and so he got him to do it. So he told me that, and I was like, that sounds just like kind of, taking credit or being, I don't know, nice or not nice, but trying to be like, oh yeah, that was all me. But then I talked to Tom, and he was like, I wasn't gonna do this until Eric talked me into it. So yeah, thanks, Eric. I think this is a great episode. I think it's a great finale. Our finales haven't been amazing. Our first episode finale was just like a big boss fight. The second finale was also kind of just a big boss fight, but Kumail made it more fun. And I think the second season also had like a more of a twist on a boss fight, in the sense that when he dumped all the stuff on her and healed her back to full health, that's like that never happens in like a boss fight or like a big ending anime trope or anything. Usually, if anything, it's the other way around. It's like the villain's like, ha ha ha, I'm so strong I could defeat you at your full strength, so I'll return you to your full strength because I'm an honorable villain. It was kind of like the opposite. So that was fun, but I still, I don't know. Also, that episode, there's supposed to be more forms that Celti changed through. Like, I think she was supposed to turn into like a big lightning elemental, or like be in the middle of a big lightning elemental that she summoned. But that didn't really hash out, whatever, pan out. So, do you cook hash browns in a pan? I guess you cook most hash in a pan. Anyway, so this third season, I think there could have been more dynamism with the boss fight. But anyway, I still liked how the episode in total turned out outside of the final boss fight. I don't know. It's combat's a weird aspect of this show. Like, I think there's a better way to do it. I just don't know what that better way is. So, whatever. Anyway, let's just hit it then, huh? Man, I'm fucking fat. Jesus Christ. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Remember this? There's that NPC that was walking in the street. He looks kind of like Paul Shear to me. I don't think it's supposed to be him. It's probably supposed to be someone from our team. That's true. He is what he wanted to do, and that is what he came here for. Damn. More like damn Harmon. You know what I'm saying? Does Apatow put his name on stuff? I mean, he's in the credits, but he makes the stuff. Like, you gotta be in the credits. I don't think there's like Apatow. I can't even think of any stuff he did. The Apatow Big Sick. I was about to say that. Man, look at that beard. Give the people what they want, which is popcorn. Didn't Rip Taylor just die? I don't actually know who Rip Taylor is. I think Paul F. Tompkins had a similar response. Man, we should get him back. I wonder how loud it sounds when I'm swallowing into this mic. It's that green shirt again. Replete's a weird word, huh? Oh man, I love the background design of this. It was not what I um, was initially thinking of, but I think it feels like a more magnified version of what I was going for. Like the sky. I was expecting the sky to be more normal, but it has this kind of Technicolor Lisa Frank sunset kind of vibe to it. Like Nakra is the word archangel backwards. Those guys remind me of Magic the Gathering, those animals. Actually, originally the inspiration for this landscape was cards from Magic the Gathering. They were called like Vivid Lands. There's a cycle of 5 Vivid Lands. We had a chocolate fountain at our wrap party because of that. It was so good, but people, like our guests, didn't know what it was because the show hadn't come out yet. But man, having a chocolate fountain's great at a party. I was dipping tortilla chips into it. Oh, so excuse me. He just made up the concept of Noatrov, which is Vortheon backwards. So this whole thing is just kind of completely improvised, but it ended up being fun. And then in the last episode, you don't just want to have a fight for like 25 minutes, that's a bit tacky or just samey really if it's just a single combat. Otherwise we might have just cut this because it's not super relevant. But it also gives Tom more to play off of. Like I said, he was really not sure what to do, but I think he did a great job. I think the concept of God being like a big fat loser kind of guy has existed in a few tropes, but one of the ones that uses the trope is Scud, when Scud finds God. Also, I think in Johnny the Homicidal Maniac that happens too, right? I'm not sure. Remember Johnny the Homicidal Maniac? Oh, this is classic. I think it actually took longer in real life too, but I'm not sure. That might have been the whole length. We've cut this show for so long. I thought in so many versions of this, I thought that when he was picking up that thing, it was like a baby. But then I realized it was flowers. But I thought he was like sniffing a baby. That we added pretty late, that he just kind of flicks the toilet paper and it just goes down the long stairs. There it is. Oh, damn. You can't really see the life trees. Those are just normal trees. The life trees were supposed to be like the giant trees that were on the far left. You saw them in one shot, but... I love these colors. It's so great. Also, the lighting effect on these guys, it just looks a bit more dynamic for whatever reason. It almost looks to me like a movie. It's funny because he has a ton of spells that are just like battle buffs, but he doesn't use them. That pig's great. You could hear the excitement in my voice because I was so excited that she thought of doing that. It's truly like the perfect solution. A pretty good solution, but not quite as good. He just drops the pig. This is like the worst idea. Why would you do that? Oh, that sounded gross, I bet, huh? Classic. I don't think we've done that very much this season. Look at his face, Tom's face there. It's so fucking funny. That's a great kind of thing. I like her hands. She wants to use her sword, but she has an axe that you'd think would be a lot more well suited for chopping off someone's head, you know? That to me looks way too much like a Rick and Morty portal. It also, I think, looks different than portals he's stepped through in the past, so it's like a continuity thing. When I have complaints, a lot of times they're with effects, sound effects, and effects, visualizations, and continuity. Oh, yeah, he's holding Fondue's hands. So, yeah, he cracked off Fondue's arms and then cast the Stone to Flesh spell to bring them back to normal functioning. And that's what he's using to activate the Beast of Beginning, is Fondue's arms. That's kind of like his ultimate plot, is to activate him himself. That dance took a lot of notes to make. It still doesn't look amazing, but it used to not look like much of a dance. This is edited because originally he rolls back before he uses this Morning Star attack. He says this right after he hits with the javelin. And then later he uses the Morning Star, but we were like, oh, it makes more sense if he does that while he's over there and then comes back later. He's like, I said it first. When that happened, I was like, "Oh shit! Did I forget to say that?" But it's pretty clear. He's like, I say like he's trying to activate the Beast of Beginning or something. This is another one of those moments where it's like the action is more comedically driven. They're playing patty cake. It's like when they're playing the thumb wrestling, where it's like that probably could have been a really crazy, dynamic, potentially dramatic visualization, but instead it's just kind of this simple joke. That roll was so much higher than I expected it to be. He is angrily eating a pretzel. Yeah, so the concept behind this is that like there's a dimensional anchor barrier that lets them kind of move through the planes using the Beast of Beginning, but only within that space. So they only like transmute like like a tiny portion of the planes that they're going through, because the AQD is like sealing the power of the beast. And so now they're in the plane of steam. I made a like a D20 table of all the different planes they'd go through, and then each plane had slightly different effects and stuff. I think this one like had concealment, like a minor concealment or something. She says feat of strength. Aaron has a special barbarian ability called feat of strength, or feats of strength, I think, where once or twice a day she can get just a bonus plus 20 to any of her strength based checks. So because of that, like that's literally rolling a 1 is literally the only way for a feat of strength to just not work. And it did. Very impressive. That would have been cool if we did that X-ray thing of it cuts to a black silhouette and then you see the bone snapping. Also, that sound effect of him foaming was like a real whipped cream canister, which I just think is such a weird choice. So originally when we did this, the ground was just kind of green colored, and so we recolored it because it was looking to not a different dimension, if that makes sense. I think that toe dick line actually happened right when he died, and we cut it there. Oh, spoiler alert, he dies. This is like this is like one of my favorite moments in the whole series. His feather or his ear wings go up. I think the sound design kind of weakened the humor of that. That's interesting to notice. It was just funnier before. It's so good though because it's like he doesn't know how to play D&D and you can kind of feel it, and when he's talking and doing his character acting, it's more just kind of improv-y stuff than it is playing the game. And then that moment is like to me like him, oh, this is how you do the game. Like you do a thing and then you get excited about it and then it either works or doesn't work, and he just seemed really into it in that moment. And from then on too, he seemed to be into it, and it was really cool to watch. It's kind of like that's what you want a new player to have. That's like the kind of experience you want from them playing D&D. No, this is a classic spell. You wouldn't think that would do that much damage just being hit by a wave, huh? So yeah, Erin doesn't have her amulet anymore, but she has the glowing pendant, which is basically the same thing, but it's not made out of a runestone because the runestone turned into the green runestone that we saw in this season. Excuse me, burping. Part of the foreshadowing that Vortheon was involved, which is probably too subtle, but whatever, was the green gems. But they don't look exactly like they used to, so it makes the connection a lot muddier. I wanted them to look like more close to what they used to look like, but it just wasn't really, I don't know, getting done. But I think I might have mentioned this. I don't think he took damage. Usually, if you take damage from a spike chain, or usually if you critical fail at spike chain, you take the damage, right? Yeah, Tom does most of the damage this episode, which wasn't intentional, but I think it's cool. But so yeah, I think I mentioned before, but the runestones are supposed to be like demon hearts, but we just have never explored that at all. I wanted season 2 to be about that concept, but it got too complicated. Excuse me. Damn. Just a weird guy on a bicycle. That punch is like one of the most effective action bits in the whole series, I think. Like, just that punch, it felt really strong and like you can feel it, you know? A lot of times the damage is a lot more flimsy. It just kind of is like whap, these little, non consequential hits, but that one actually felt real, you know? That's like an animator joke. I'm sure she meant the actual cheeks, but they're like, butt cheeks. He did so much damage. That's like those three attacks account for more than like 120 damage, I want to say. Dan's just fucking eating pretzels. You fuckstick. Part of the concept was that like the beast has this kind of field around it of influence, and that's the stuff that travels along with it. And so when they were falling through space and stuff, you were supposed to see that visible barrier bubble, and then he like falls out of it, and that's what fucks him up. But we don't really have that bubble in the actual animation, so it doesn't really track visually as much. Chutzpah's a funny word. I think the word he was looking for was magical vomit knowledge. So obviously the Beast of Beginning is supposed to look kind of like Noah Trav. I like how Tom actually looks up. Sad face. The idea there is like Spencer's supposed to give this narration, but then it's funny that like actually Sandy Michael says it. Oh shit. Yeah, so like technically they could be in the past. They could turn out to be their own grandma or something, you know? Classic Futurama stuff. Or they could have killed themselves, creating a possible time paradox. Or everything could just be fine. Thank you so much. So yeah, who knows what the next season could hold if we get one. And remember, you gotta email Verve, tell him to make more. Otherwise, you're all fired from watching more episodes of the show since it won't get made. It's more like we're downsizing. It's less like everybody's fired. Someone's name on the credits was Rosemary Leisure, who I always knew as Rosie. I didn't know her full name was Rosemary. Anyway. So yeah, I guess none of these were live. I talked about doing them like live streaming or something, but I didn't. But, you know, that's just the world we live in. It's full of disappointments. I'm sure a lot of people were disappointed by this season, which, you know, probably the right reaction. Honestly, I think this is the best season we've done. I think the plot is maybe too complicated, but that's kind of what I was going for, was that like you just don't know what's happening, because in the past seasons, I don't know, I guess you knew it was happening, but also it's like what's happening, because the world is just existing and doing its own thing, and then the characters are just kind of coming through and fucking around, so like the audience's awareness is basically the same as the player's awareness, which is very little as awareness. So yeah, I think that could have gone better, but I don't know. I just really like how it all turned out. I think the guests were all really good. I don't think we really had like a bad guest, or a guest that wasn't really getting it or whatever. I think I really like the locations and the scopes of each episode, like the missions, essentially. That's kind of when I write it. I'm like, oh, what kind of quest or what kind of mission can this episode be? So, like, is it a, what do you call it? like a bodyguard request where you have to accompany someone, to a destination, or is it you have to retrieve an item, or is it you gotta get out of a dungeon or whatever, you gotta fight an enemy. And so I tried to go with things that we didn't exactly do and locations that we didn't exactly do. So hopefully that comes through. Hopefully my audio comes through, huh? I'm looking at these audio levels and they're not super great, but when I did a test recording, it sounded fine. So anyway, so yeah, thanks so much for watching all of these. If you did, because it made doing this worthwhile. If no one watched it, then it's like I'm just talking into my computer for nothing. I mean, what is that? A podcast? I don't know. So yeah, like I maybe mentioned before, I might do these for older seasons, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna have to see like what I can and can't remember, or what relevant stuff there is to say. I feel like towards the end of this season of commentaries, I kind of was running out of things to say, but whatever. Uh, yeah, maybe I could do a question and answer one of these way later. Well, not way later, but like, instead of like a live thing. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze, but I don't think I am. Anyway, thanks for watching. Uh, like and subscribe. I mean, don't do that. It's just a funny thing because I'm on YouTube. I'm basically a full-blown YouTuber at this point. But that's gonna stop immediately because I'm pretty much done with that. Unless we do another season. Hoo boy. Also, this season, I don't think there's any, what do you call it, expanded universe clips, which is a real bummer. You guys really deserve those clips. There's some good stuff in there. Anyway, let's see. In the world, in the words of the immortal bard, keep it crispy. Like Pete Holmes says.